Now we're recording. Okay, welcome everyone to another CRC OER Award Program accessibility workshop. This one in particular, we are going to be focusing on video, audio, and making that accessible. On the slide that you see right here, there is a URL that you can use if you are accessing this presentation later on as a recording. You can access the slide deck using that link. If you're here with me right now, you can access the slide deck from the link that I just popped into the chat. All right, so what are we going to do today? Well, first we're going to talk about what captions and transcripts are and why we want to include those captions and transcripts for our video and audio material. And this applies to both on Canvas and in the classroom in an actual physical space that we would be sharing with our students. We're also going to talk about how to identify whether a video has accurate captions versus auto-generated captions, and we'll discuss the difference between the two. You will learn how to request captions and transcripts for your existing video and audio recordings from the Los Rios captioning service. And then as a bonus, if you all are interested, we can talk about some other video applications, some accessibility considerations or constraints associated with them. And then for you STEM folks, how to make your complex images accessible using audio descriptions. All right, so first off, what's the difference between captions and transcripts? You may have seen this icon before on the control panel of a YouTube video. This represents closed captions. Essentially, what captions are there texts that appear at the bottom of a video. In fact, in this presentation, if you're here with me live, you can access the live transcript, which are not accurate captions. They are generated by a computer, but you know, there's something. And if you're accessing this video later on, you will see that you have access to accurate transcriptions down at the bottom of the screen. Accurate captions, I should say. Accurate captions will capture both the spoken word and the video. So that could be me speaking, it could be a dialogue, it could even be music, lyrics of someone singing. Captions that are accurate also capture background noises, that's intentional. Music, if there is a score associated with it, will identify that music is playing. Dogs barking, I'll say in parentheses, like dogs barking, that kind of thing. And then also the captions, if they're accurate, will differentiate between speakers. So the caption will actually identify whether it's a narrator or if it's a character in a film. Those characters will be identified by name in the accurate captions. The last thing about this is that they are time synced. And so time synced means that the captions play along at the same time as the video. You may have seen interactive transcripts on Zoom recordings or interactive transcripts on a TED talk. Those are not the same thing. They are a text collection of text representing what was spoken. Interactive transcripts don't necessarily document who the speaker is, and they will take you to a timestamp within the video if it's an interactive transcript, but it doesn't play along at the same time as the video does in the same frame, which is really important. Interactive transcripts are often a different frame and the viewer has to look away and look back, and it's a little bit more challenging. So then there are regular old transcripts, which are essentially an audio, taking an audio recording and converting it into a text description. Transcripts can include descriptions of visual elements that are not in the captions. And that's really important, especially if you're showing a video that has a lot of visual elements that are not described to the viewer by the narrator. Let's say you're showing a nature episode and there's a whole lot of action that's happening along with the video that is only described by actual seeing. So for a user who is blind, having a transcript of what is going on when there is no narrator or no dialogue can be really helpful. This even applies to, like, you know, movies, actual like cinema. I think about all those action films that you watch where there is no description whatsoever going on in these amazing action sequences or car chases, and all a user would hear would just be like smash, bam, and that's it. So transcripts can be useful for that, and also, of course, for podcasts. Okay. So who benefits from captions and transcripts? Well, my answer is everybody. If you use captions watching a movie and you've noticed that you catch the dialogue more than you did when you just had it with the speakers, then you're benefiting from captions. Specifically, captions and transcripts are useful for users who are deaf, hard of hearing, or have a learning disability. It can help with focusing and processing of the visual and audio information when you see the text going along with it. Captions are also useful for our students who are in a public location and trying to access their educational content when they don't want to be playing audio. Maybe they don't have their they don't have headphones with them, but they still want to watch it, or maybe they're in a room with a sleeping baby or a family member and they don't want to wake them up. So captions are useful for that as well. Personally, I find that I really benefit from captions in terms of getting greater understanding and comprehension of what I'm watching when I have the captions to supplement that. It's easier for me to focus and to understand the dialogue. Okay, so what makes captions accessible? Because there are captions that are auto-generated by like YouTube or live captioning that you may be watching right now, and those are not necessarily going to be accessible. They're better than nothing, but they are not accurate. And to be 508 compliant, meaning to have our web content, our visual content sufficiently accessible for users with those disabilities that elect not to disclose those disabilities and receive accommodations, we want to make sure that we have accurate captions on all of our stuff for those folks specifically. Accurate captions will differentiate the speakers, as I mentioned before. They will include music and background noise, punctuation, accurate spelling and grammar, and they will occur in blocks rather than scrolling. The scrolling captions that you see in auto-generated captions on YouTube are very difficult for some users to track and follow. Having a block of 2 lines of text that stays static for however long, maybe 5 seconds or so before switching to the next block of text is much more accessible than that scrolling text that you get with the auto-generated captions. For those of you that are accessing this presentation later, there's a link on this slide for accessibility guidelines for captions from the web content accessibility guidelines, which are kind of our guiding principles or rules, if you will, for accessible content online. So the question is, does my media need transcript or captions? And I'm assuming that you're here because you have that question. You're not sure whether you need to have captions or you want to know how to do it. So if your video includes dialogue or narration, then it needs accurate captions. If there is visual or visual information that is not accompanied by a narration or music that is essential to the understanding or to the content that you're presenting for like student objectives, then there needs to be a descriptive transcript that goes along with it or an audio description. So when we're watching an animation, I've got a couple STEM folks here. So if there is an animation of a process, let's say transport across membrane or mitosis, and it is not narrated, then that animation is inaccessible to some users. So we would want to add narration over the top or add a transcript that goes along with the video for the portions that are not narrated. If your audio recording includes any kind of spoken word or singing, then there needs to be an accurate transcript of what is being spoken. And if that singing or spoken word is in another language, it depends on what you're looking for, right? If you want to have the transcript being in the language that is being spoken, then you can provide that. If the video has if it typically would be accompanied by subtitles, you would also have a translation there as well. And then for instrumental music, and this is a challenging one, especially for our arts faculty, arts disciplines, where we have music accompanying either a video, a performance, or if it's just literally the audio track for that music, then there should be a descriptive transcript. Depending on the needs, the descriptive transcript could be describing the music and what it sounds like, the instruments that are being played, the style of music, or it could just be the name of the piece. It really depends on your purposes. Okay, so before I move on to the next part, are there any questions on what I've gone through so far? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a no. All right, so the next component of this, and I've alluded to this in the past, but I wanted to mention it because this is something that up until I started doing the online course designer job and doing a lot of accessibility work, I didn't really know that this existed. So we talk about captions, we play up captions, we say how important captions are for making content accessible to deaf or hard of hearing users. But there's another element to having captions or to making video content accessible, is we also want to think about our blind or low vision users and all of the components of the video that are not described by speaking. And so again, let's go back to that action film and think about what an action film, how a blind or a low vision user might experience an action film. And there's dialogue, right? But there's a whole lot else that's going on there. And so, or if we're talking about like animal behavior in a biology class, there's a lot that a user who's not actually able to see the screen or is electing to not look at the screen may be missing. So audio descriptions are a really cool feature that you can add if you find that this is something that you need for your discipline. I'm going to play a short video here, and fingers crossed the audio will play. I think I shared my audio. And this video demonstrates what an audio description is and how they are helpful.
Just watch a movie and close your eyes, and you can't follow most movies with just listening.
You guys can hear this, right? Thumbs up. Yep. Okay.
Like, who's that? What's going on?
Police lights flash on the front of the buyer's house as Officer Callahan stands outside with Joyce and Jonathan.
Audio description is a description of the action that's going on in between the dialogue.
Inside the dark house, Hopper walks down the hallway with a flashlight.
For blind people, having that audio description, it becomes their eyes.
I definitely say Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things and Game of Thrones have been my audio description highlights.
11 closes her eyes. Elsewhere in the lab, the man from the photo sits at a table with a piece of paper.
I can't see anything at all. So actually I've never had audio description on live, as it were, so having it on TV is a great start.
I use it for watching TV programs, for films at home, films in the cinema.
Theatre and cinema are my favourites.
I use audio description when I go to football matches.
A lot of those little subtleties in the way a person looks or something they do with their hands is actually a massive part of the story.
11 steps out wearing the dress and wig. Lucas gives Dustin an impressed look as Mike gawks at her.
If it's a gentle film, they'll have perhaps a gentler voice.
Blinks, tilting his head.
And in the action films, I'll have a harder edge description.
It drags dried growth and a piece of shepherd's suit across the floor, leaving behind a trail of blood.
All that tension, a lot of that is based in seeing what's happening and getting a sense of the atmosphere, and that's really brought to life as well by audio description.
I don't watch anything without audio description.
I'm an absolute addict of audio description. I OD on AD.
For more information.
Okay.
Jena, that was a great video.
Wasn't that fabulous?
Thanks for sharing that. Really...
Well, we can thank our lovely Leslie Reeves for sharing that video with me. That seeing this video completely changed my understanding of making video content accessible. And in fact, I have come across this without realizing it. So I don't know how many of you watch the Olympics, but on the Peacock app, all of the Olympic events, there was an ADA version with audio descriptions. And so I started watching the figure skating with the audio descriptions and closed my eyes, and it was fabulous. It was so wonderful. And it made me realize like how much of our visual content is just not accessible to a portion of the population. And man, you know, if we can make what we are presenting to our students for learning, if we can add that additional depth, wow, that is a game changer. So I wanted to put that out there. There are ways to add audio descriptions to video content that you currently use by recording a separate audio track over the video using Camtasia. So that's something to think about if you know that you want to do that. That is one way to do it. You can also, if you find that that there's only a certain section of the content, the video content that you're sharing, you can do a descriptive transcript, which means you don't have to record over the video and have it synchronized. You could have a text description below the video or linked from next to the video, indicating to users that they can access the description of that portion of the video if they need it. Any questions about that?
Just watch a movie and close your eyes.
Sorry, start it up again. Any questions about that? No?
I do. Just
yes, wonderful.
So a lot of times I use the films on demand, and I can't remember the name.
Canopy?
Canopy, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I know those have the transcription at the bottom, but this is something in addition to that that we would do. Okay.
That is correct. So if you're using films on demand or Canopy, and you find that they have, most of them have accurate captions already. Some of the filmed on demand ones, the captions are in all caps, which is kind of irritating because it's hard to follow along with all caps all the time. But I don't know how many of them actually have an audio description, that overlay. So that is something you could do yourself if it's only a small amount of stuff. Alternatively, you could contact the library to find out if they can get a hold of the video, the ADA version that includes the audio descriptions. These folks featured in this video were describing how they were able to access the audio descriptions for films that they go see in the cinema or shows that they are watching at home. So these things are available. I think it's just a matter of contacting the appropriate person associated with that. And I think the library for us is probably the best place to start. Andy, forgive me for saying that. She transcribes this video later. And otherwise, if you own a particular video, let's say it's from PBS, you could contact their accessibility support at PBS and see if you could get a hold of that. And DSPS may also be able to help you with that, especially if you know you have a student who would benefit from it currently in their class, because that would be a part of their accommodations. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about audio recordings. So there are definitely a lot of really phenomenal podcasts out there. And anytime we post a podcast or even our own audio recording that we've made in our classes, we want to make sure that those have transcripts that are accurate. So if the podcast is not yours, if the audio recording is not yours, be sure to go check the web for the transcript. So you may want to go to the actual website that is affiliated with that podcast to see if they have transcripts available. One of my biggest frustrations is Radiolab and how they don't have their transcripts available. Because I love Radiolab. But there are other things like NPR's Life Kit, which have transcripts available. A lot of the NPR stuff, except for Radiolab apparently, have the transcripts right there available along with the podcast. And the podcast you can usually embed directly on a Canvas page, but you want to make sure you have the transcript available linked from there as well. If you're using the podcast in a in-person course, then you would probably want to have that link available for students, or provide them with a copy of the file. Okay. You can also request a transcript through our Los Rios captioning service. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later. Oh, actually, I might as well talk about it now. So Los Rios, for the time being, is using emergency funding to fund the captioning of videos. And I just recently learned that they have they will also transcribe audio recordings as well, if you are specific about your needs with that. So if you have a podcast or a video from YouTube or a recording from YouTube, you can send request off to our captioning coordinators, and they're going to collect all of the recordings and videos and stuff that you want captioned or transcribed and submit them to a third party, a contractor called Rev, R-E-V, and then Rev will caption those and provide you or transcribe them and provide you with the files that you can then link to from Canvas. So this is a really wonderful service. If you haven't taken advantage of it already, you should very soon, because the funding for this service expires at the end of April. And I haven't heard yet whether it's going to be extended. I am optimistic that it will be extended for another year, but we haven't heard a firm yes or no on that. So in the chat, if you haven't accessed this already, I placed the link, and the link is also on this slide and a couple of other slides if you're accessing this video and the slide deck later. If you are planning on making your own recordings, you haven't yet, so you probably won't be able to submit for captioning because you're in the process of making them. Something that makes really easy for creating accurate transcripts and also accurate captions is planning ahead. If you develop a transcript for your narration before you record, then you can easily save that as a text file and upload that as upload the text file as captions to your video. Or if you are recording an audio recording, then you just save that text and upload it to Canvas on a Canvas page, or if you're using a document, linking to the document from the Canvas page. Regardless of how you're getting your captions and your transcripts, especially with transcripts and audio recordings, do make sure that you are providing the transcript right along with the audio recording in the same location, so that it's and making it very clear that the transcript is available for users who might wish to read instead of listen. Okay. All right, so as I was putting together this presentation, I was going through the Canvas options, and I realized that there are a couple of options that Canvas provides for making audio and video recordings that are not accessible. And I would be remiss if I did not share those with you here today. So Canvas has the option in Gradebook of doing a media recording for feedback. I don't know if you've tried this before, but it certainly saves your fingers and wrists. If you're suffering from carpal tunnel, it's nice to just dictate your feedback and have it saved there as an audio recording. The problem with that is there is no way to caption or transcribe that audio recording or the video recording if you do video feedback. So just be aware that you can't, that doesn't mean you can't use it, but if you plan to use videos or audio feedback in SpeedGrader, it's important that you notify your students at the beginning of the semester of what formats they have to choose from with the feedback, so that they can let you know if they prefer to get text versus audio or video feedback. And that will make it very easy for a student to communicate their needs to you without going to DSPS or specifically asking for an accommodation. When you're working in the Canvas rich content editor, like building a page or an assignment instruction or discussion post, there is also an option there to add media. And there's two different ways to add media. The top way, as shown here on this, the top way shown here, when you locate this little, looks like a play button and a musical notes, that is the Canvas upload/record media. Can't caption that, can't transcribe easily, so don't use it. If you want to add a video or an audio recording, I suggest using Canvas Studio instead, which can be accessed from this little icon here called Apps from within the Tools menu or on the Canvas Rich Content Editor toolbar. When you use Studio, you can request that captions be generated for Studio, and then you can edit those automatic captions, which I will demonstrate in a moment. So do we have any questions about the Canvas media recordings and the challenges that they pose? All right, so demo time. All right, so as I mentioned already, you can request captions using this captioning service. One thing that I will tell you is that the captioning service will caption your videos that you have made. They will also caption videos that you were getting off of like Vimeo or YouTube, which is fabulous. But there are some additional steps that need to be taken in order to share the caption version of that video with your students, because these captions are only for you and only for your students. If it is a video that you own on YouTube, you can add your captions to that YouTube video. But if you don't own the video, then you can't add the captions that the captioner is making for us. The other consideration with the captioning request is that they do prefer if you do a bulk request or a batch request of a whole bunch of media at the same time, rather than doing it week by week, because we just don't have the personnel to manage all of those requests. So it's a convoluted workflow, and it's a lot easier when it's a big batch. Okay. All right, so other things, how to search for captioned videos on YouTube. So here we are, we're on YouTube, and we're gonna do a search for, what do we search for? Anybody need a video they're looking for? No?
Well, try atomic orbital hybridization.
Oh, look at you go, Mike Russell.
All right.
This is my number one copied video off of YouTube.
Okay. All right. So we've got lots of videos here, but some of them have a little CC on them and some of them don't. To save you some time, so that you don't have to submit a captioning request, and so you ensure that you are getting accurately captioned videos for your students, you want to select this filter option here, and then go over to the features column and select subtitles CC. What this will do is it will eliminate all of the videos that are automatically captioned from the search, and only those that are accurately captioned as designated by the owner of the video will be presented to you to use. And then basically you just embed that video in your Canvas page, or you play it in class, and then you can enable the captions using the toolbar. Okay, so that's the first way to identify if they are accurately captioned. Does that make sense? Yeah, pretty straightforward. Okay. All right, so then you can also check your previously curated videos for automatic captions. All right, so let's go back. We're going to get rid of our filter. And so we're gonna take a look at 2 of these videos. So first, we're going to start with this one from the Organic Chemistry Tutor. And the way to check for captions after we watch an ad from Disney is we select the CC button down here, and you'll notice that it says English auto-generated. And that tells us immediately that these are not accurately captioned videos. And what's going to happen as
in this
it plays
video, we're going to talk about hybridization of atomic orbitals.
Right? And there's not a lot of capitalization, and there may even be some misspellings. I mean, not a lot of punctuation, there may be misspellings. So this one's out. Okay, so let's check this one out. So this one we saw was indicated as having captions.
Is to make college easier because students have a lot on their.
I need to link this account to my premium YouTube so I don't have to deal with this. Okay, so here we go.
Dave, let's talk about molecular orbitals.
Now what we notice is that their captions are in a block, okay? And if we just want to verify that these are in fact accurate captions, we can click the CC button and notice that it just says English, click for settings. Can't get it to stay up, but there's no auto-generated there. So once again, that means that this has been edited. The captions have been edited for accuracy. There are some videos that allow you to choose which version of the subtitles you want. So sometimes there looks like there's a number of options here, which is helpful if you're specifically looking for a video that has subtitles in another language than a different language than what's being spoken. It will clarify whether they are auto-generated or not. And sometimes you may notice that it says English parentheses United Kingdom or English parentheses Canada. It's still accurately captioned if it says that. So it's just when it says auto-generated that we want to avoid that. If it's the only video you can find and it absolutely has to be used, that is when you do a captioning request. And you get the video captioned from our captioner and post it in Canvas. Okay. All right, so now DIY captioning options. So let's say you have a video that you've made, but you want to post it like next week and you don't have any other videos to submit to the captioning service. And you really want to make sure that it's accurately captioned because you know that that's the right thing to do for your students. Okay, so let's say you have a YouTube video. This one I know does not have accurate captions yet. Okay, so here we are in our Creator Studio on YouTube, and I've got a video that I've already uploaded, okay, and I have allowed for I have allowed for automatically generated captions, but they're automatic, right? See right here how it says automatic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate and edit. Okay, that's fine. I don't care if it overwrites my draft. Okay, so now we see that there's like 0 punctuation in here, except for a few what are the contractions? I can't remember what they're called. Man, they even misspelled my name. My goodness. Okay. Anyway, a couple of things that you will want to do in here is there is edit as text. This is a great way to first fix all the sentences and the sentence structure, but any spelling, you look at the whole block, you edit it for grammatical and spelling issues, okay? And then you can edit the timings. And the way that you edit the timings is essentially you're going to play the video and it's going to show the captions down here and also up top. And these will already be synced. So it's just a matter of making sure that once you edit the grammar and the spelling, that they are still synced with your video. We also want to try to make sure that the captions are around for long enough. If the caption flips up and then comes back down and it's gone in like a second, that's probably not enough processing time. You know, if we're talking like 2 to 5 seconds, maybe even a little longer, that's great. But we want to keep it to 2 lines, and we don't want either. I think it actually sets a limit to the line length. So that's already done for you. And once you have edited your captions, checked the timings, then you can click publish, and that will create an accurately captioned video that use the automatically generated captions from YouTube. Now, this is really handy, and it goes pretty quickly when it's your videos and the videos are short. If you've got an hour-long video, it's going to be rather tedious to edit these automatically generated captions. And the same goes for the next option, which is in YouTube, excuse me, in Canvas Studio. So this kind of manual editing of captions works fine, provided that we're only talking about short videos. Anticipate double the amount of time of the video that will be spent making the captions. So a 10-minute video will take you 20 minutes to edit the captions if they're not very accurate. Okay, so now here we are in my in a Canvas shell, and I'm going to go to Studio, and I will show you how to do the same basic process in Studio. You may already know how to do this. Anyway, so here's a demo video that I filmed a while ago, and this video does not have captions. So in Studio, after I've recorded the video and it publishes the video, then I can go down to this these tabs here, and I can select the captions option. I can identify what language is being spoken, and I can request it. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll show you what it looks like for another one, because it could take a couple of minutes to generate those captions, and we don't want to wait around for that. So here's another video that I recorded a while ago, and I already requested the captions. So they're here and they're waiting for me. So notice that it says review and publish. So I will select review and publish, and then we can see the captions and the timings, very similar to what we have in YouTube, and then I can edit them. And the handy part is that once I start this playback, it will actually highlight which captions I'm working on. And at the moment I want to stop and make an edit, it will allow me to. So let's see if this actually works while I'm doing Zoom. So if I start playing this.
Hello everyone, and welcome to module 3.
See how it highlights it?
This week we're going to be learning about cells. Now,
okay, so if I wanted to stop that and add an edit in there, all I have to do is put the cursor in the subtitle that's currently being spoken and start typing, and it will automatically pause the video. Also very helpful. And then, oops, and then I think I just click on the next one, and it will automatically start playing the next set of
remember from last week are the
again, the Studio option is really straightforward, just like the YouTube option. Personally, I prefer to edit my videos in Studio because I'm already kind of using Studio to film these announcement videos anyway, so it's very easy to just do the captions right there. One thing to keep in mind for when you do have the captions is that the captions that you use are going to show up at the top of the video when in Studio, not at the bottom, because at the bottom of Studio, there is a toolbar that doesn't go away. And if students are allowed to comment on the video, those comments will populate and obstruct anything that you have at the bottom. So if you're speaking and you have like, if you're speaking on over a PowerPoint and there are titles at the top of the PowerPoint slide, the captions will go right over the top of whatever text you have at the top of your slide. So therefore, anticipate that you need at least, you know, like, I don't know how many pixels, but you need to be able to accommodate a line of text in the captions up above your title of your PowerPoint slide, so that the two aren't going right over top of one another.
Jena, is there a possibility of taking a short video that you did in YouTube with captions and moving it into Studio, or can that not happen?
The YouTube captions do not translate into the into Studio. Okay. They won't show up. unfortunately. But what you can do is, let's go back over to here. And notice that here I've got my video subtitles for my YouTube video. I can download them. So in YouTube, if I select the download option, the one you want, actually, most of these work, but I seem to have the most luck with the SRT file. And the SRT file is text with timings built into it. And then you can import that SRT file by doing this. So let's see if one of these videos doesn't have captions requested yet. All right, so I'm going to select the upload option, English, and then select my file from my computer's hard drive.
Okay.
And then it will upload those videos that you edited on YouTube. It will put them into the YouTube video that you've linked. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And I think I skipped a step here in that you can add YouTube videos here. So if you have a video, you just paste the share link here and you can add the video from YouTube there. Either your own video or somebody else's video. But if you do somebody else's video, just be aware that the captions are not going to be there and you're going to have to add the captions yourself. Okay. Okay, I think I've covered all of that. So a couple more things. Okay, so what about student generated content, right? If you are having your students generate videos or complex images that may need some kind of description, or they're podcasting or something like that, and it's going to be shared with other students, then you're probably going to want to think about the accessibility of that. That's really hard, right? Because it's hard. We struggle with understanding all of the nuances of accessibility. And so we want to demonstrate best practices to our students and then help them understand or encourage them at least to share accessible content. So it helps if you plan on doing this in your course to talk a little bit about in an introductory statement or a video, an accurately captioned video, how to identify videos on YouTube that are accurately captioned. If you're going to be asking them to curate videos and share with the class. And if they're going to be building their own videos or audio recordings, then talk to them about planning ahead and creating a transcript so that it's easier to generate accurate captions or share that transcript going forward. There are a few apps that we can use within Canvas, like Flipgrid, for example, that have short videos where students can't edit the captions. So Flipgrid, if you have a Flipgrid, so if you have a Flipgrid for your course, there are a couple of things that you could do for Flipgrid to make it more accessible. One is to encourage your students to use text boxes in their videos. They can add text to the video. They can add a caption to the video that describes what's being said there. If they're uncomfortable showing themselves on screen, they can have a series of images that basically say what they're recording as an audio. And so it would be like a slideshow of text. Those are all accessible options. You can do automatically generated captions in here. And if you are an instructor that owns the Flipgrid, you can edit students' captions if you'd like to. But if you've got a big class, it's going to be really hard to edit everybody's captions, right? Just training students to consider including text in their videos to kind of show a commitment to their classmates is a good plan. Adobe Creative Cloud Express, I know, has been promoted a lot lately because it does create some fun videos, but do keep in mind that you can't caption Adobe Creative Cloud Express videos that you share via Creative Cloud Express. So for example, I've got this video I made this morning. It's not very polished, but this is an example of how you can make an Adobe Express video accessible. And it doesn't have to be just text. This is just a demonstration.
Have you tried watching a movie you've seen before, but with captions?
Right, so I've included the text that I'm speaking right on the page. And Creative Cloud Express is nice because it will add animations and background music and all of that stuff. But if you're just doing a slideshow of pictures and you're talking over that without actually including the text, there's no closed caption option here. It doesn't exist unless you export that video and put it in Studio or in YouTube and then add captions. So a way to save yourself some time is to just make sure you add captions to your Creative Cloud Express videos as you're building them. And that's pretty easy. So when you go over here to layout, you just select one that has caption and add the caption in there. And then you do your little audio recording. It's very easy to sync it up because each slide has its own unique audio recording that Express weaves together at the end. Questions about that? We're running out of time and I want to get to the one for you SME folks. All right, so complex images, right? We have them, the textbook publishers make so many complicated images for STEM, and there's an example of one here on this slide. But we also want to think about the arts, and even if you're using infographics or charts or graphs, any kind of complex image that has a lot of text and pictures in it is going to be really hard to make accessible because the alt text cannot capture all of that information. Alt text is a kind of background description that you can add to any image in Canvas, in PowerPoint, in a Google slide like this. And that alt text is limited to 120 characters, including spaces. And there's no way that that would capture this image. So some options would be to, for screen reader users, those that are not seeing this images or have low vision, you can create a text description of the image. And this is going to be a very detailed description of what the image looks like. If it's a flow chart, you would include 1, 2, and 3. You could include the description of the membrane proteins that are there, etc. Anything that's relevant that you would say as you were talking over the image to students giving a presentation, for example. You can do an audio description, which is a recording, right, of you talking and provide a transcript for that. Or you could do a video description where, for example, you have one static image on a video and you annotate over it using your mouse or a stylus or whatever. And then you have a narration of you doing that, and that would be accurately captioned. Those are all accessible options for users. But we just want to keep in mind that whatever tactic we use, we make it clear to users of screen readers how they can access that alternative version. So a good phrase would be something like, screen reader users, please review this text description of the image. Or screen reader users, please listen to this audio description of the image. And so that makes it very clear that we've anticipated their needs and gives them access to the same information that a sighted student looking at the image might like. And in fact, there are probably some sighted students who would appreciate those audio descriptions too. All right. I think that just about does it for my spiel. I just wanted to include a couple of other resources here for you. If you plan on doing screen captures of complex images and talking over them, you can always use Studio. But if you want to save it to your computer, then you might want to consider downloading Screencast-O-Matic. Their educational software allows you to edit videos in the cloud, which is helpful if you have limited space on your computer. Snagit and Camtasia are also really powerful. They allow you to add additional annotations and animations to videos, and Camtasia will allow you to do the audio description over the top of an existing video to describe what's going on in the non-audio areas of the video. And lastly, if any of you watching this are interested in learning how to create accurate subtitles for an image, for a video, or a translation of a video, Amara is a really good place for that. Amara crowdsources subtitles and translations of from an international community of users. And so it can be really helpful if you find a great video, but it's not in the language you want to speak it in, want to teach it in, you can get a translation off of Amara, maybe, or you can generate one your own. And their editor is a little clunky, but you know, it's once you figure it out, it goes pretty quickly. All right, I am going to stop this recording. So thank you for watching, and reach out to me, Jena Trench, if you have any questions.